Hey, assalamu alaikum everybody. Okay, so this is the last post before I drop off my Mac, inshallah, today at the Apple Store and they fix it up. I just wanted to talk about Syria, my 2 weeks there. When I arrived, I felt this surge of happiness. I mean, it's like Syria, I love it. I love the dialect, it's so sweet. I hadn't heard it for 8 months, and I may have said this before, but I saw some people on a train that were Syrian, and I was just so relieved to hear the Syrian accent. People are very, very white there. It's really interesting. It's a big contrast from Egypt, and I changed my image of white people. I look kind of more white here with the light reflecting, but that's just how they are. I have a Syrian friend who, and you know who you are, you're probably watching this video, who when he goes with me to meet other people, they whisper in my ear, they're like, is he Arab? Can we say assalamu alaikum to him? And so it's confusing. There's definitely change. Some of my friends were in Syria and they loved it. They loved it a lot more than Egypt. I didn't see sexual harassment there, especially not as much as Egypt. But I still hear it goes on, and it's still a problem. Women in Syria dressed differently. It's either like American girls, just what you would think of an American girl, except not in terms of the shorts or anything, but I mean in terms of the jeans and the shirts. And again, not very low cut, but still a lot more of that. Or very dark, long robes, which are a sign that they're probably a part of a certain group of people, and you know who they are. Or you have the young girls trying to push it a bit, skirts getting shorter, little changes here and there. I prefer the Egyptian style, to be honest. It's quite colorful and beautiful. But, both are interesting because it's just, it's a manifestation. It's them being affected. There's a documentary that I've listened to, but I just lost all my tabs on Firefox, so I've lost it. But it's about Arabs, and it's about how they feel that they're being affected by Europe and by America. So it's interesting. Taxis were great. They're nice people. They didn't even cheat me. In fact, they shortened my trip and they got me deals. At the coffee nut, there was a very nice guy. He spoke English fluently, and he said he was learning from movies and songs. A big rap fan, actually. I mean, he knows all these people in underground, American hip hop. And I was surprised to see that. He didn't make one mistake when he was speaking English. He was young, in his 20s. And it was the only place in the area. Internet there is still new. There's not many foreigners, so it's a much more closed country than Egypt. They're Arabic. My little cousin, who's age 8, she was reading a short novel. She was reciting it with perfect Arabic. She made a few mistakes, but in terms of grammar and the case endings, she was doing it very well. And it's not an easy thing to do, so I was very surprised. Syrian education for Arabic is improving a lot, and they're one of the top countries in that. It's not that crowded or loud, relatively speaking. Like when I first went there, I was like, is it a dead city? But that's because I was affected by Egypt. When I first went to Syria, it was crazy. But then, everything is relative. Not everything, but this thing is relative. Um, they don't want tips every step you take. Granted, Egypt is in a pretty bad economic state. It's really poor people. Um, but like, you get to the airport, um, and the person starts taking out bags out of the taxi, and then you tell them, this is in Egypt, by the way, you tell them, what are you doing? I don't want a car. They're like, what? Like, you're the most stingy, cruel person ever. They're like, how could you not do that? Um, Language differences. So in proper Arabic, you would say, for example, استيقظت لتوي, which means I just woke up. In Egyptian, you'd say لسه صاحي, which means I just woke up, or I've been awake. It has two meanings. And in Syrian, you'd say هلا فقت. So it's very interesting, picking up these different things and having different, code switching between the three things that I know, and so it's good. Memories also affected the language you speak and where you are. Remember Saving Private Ryan when he was remembering his wife. He was like, you got to imagine the outside of it. And so when I went there, if you asked me before and I was thinking of it, I couldn't remember the names of the places. I couldn't remember a lot of things. Once I got to the country and I started to speak in the Syrian dialect, everything came back to me. I remember the street names. I remember the mosque names. I remembered people's names that I had forgotten. Like a week before, I was trying to remember. I was talking to them, and I couldn't remember them. We went to Blue Dan, which is a very interesting place. This place is actually it's close to Lebanon. It's higher than Zabadani, which is where I went last summer. Beautiful, beautiful place. It was so cool there. It had cool mountains, even though it's hot in Damascus. It's beautiful mountains, a beautiful place. It's a summer spot. You can't go there in the winter because the snow is too much, and they have really steep hills. I I would recommend anyone who goes to Syria, to Damascus, to go to Blue Den and Zabadani. Just amazing that in the winter you can go to these spots and they're actually cool. I mean, you sometimes need a blanket or a sweater or a jacket, a winter coat, to protect yourself from the cool. Um, you know, I don't know why I wrote this in here, but just an interesting thing. I was talking with people, and they told me that they can't pray or make wudu, which is ablation, a washing. You have to do ritualistic washing in Islam before you pray to become ritually clean in the military. Um, so one of their trainers or something, when they have to do their 2-year military service, told them that if you pray, I'm going to put you 2 weeks in solitary confinement. But you can go down to the village and drink. And so you have this very anti-Islamic sentiment in some of the groups. Now, they're not all like that, granted. Some of them say you can pray, but you can't pray together. Pray alone and don't make it a formal thing. Also, no beards in high schools, but I heard that's changing as well. It's weird, you don't share cabs. It's not like Egypt where you're just riding and someone jumps in. And I remember it was weird for me to start Egypt and for it to be like that. And just a lot of beautiful things, like when someone wants you to go ahead, like you're in the elevator, you say sharif. It's like something along the lines. If I wanted to roughly translate it as become honorable and honor us, honor us. How beautiful is that? And also when greeting each other, they'll say like this, which is like, you're on top of my head. I mean, I value you so much. It's so beautiful. I also went to a place which I didn't write down because I forgot what it's called. Ain Srije. Hold on just a second. What's that? Do you remember what the Ain that's in Damascus? It's like
Ain al-Fija.
Ain al-Fija, thank you. Ain al-Fija. Ain al-Fija, probably, in proper Arabic. This is a spring which gives a lot of water to Damascus. And I went there and I visited. Again, it was a cool place and it was a nice restaurant. And I went with my uncle. Well, it's actually my dad's uncle, but I still call him my uncle, and his friends. So all these old guys, and we discussed a lot of interesting things. Again, I prefer to hang out with older people rather than people younger because they have so many ideas. But I like hanging out with all types of people. It's just interesting how they always have stories to tell. Very interesting lives. People walking from Damascus to Sweden. Very interesting things. In the 60s and 70s. Bribing cops is a big issue. I was driving with someone and we were driving too quickly, and so they have these radar guns now to try to make it safe. But I think the real reason, for that is that they want more money. And it's corrupt. So if it's like £4,000 or £5,000 for the ticket, you pay him 1,000 only or 500, and he lets it go by. Well, the person I was driving with paid him £1,000, and because of that, he told him, okay, I'm not going to even say, I'm going to delete the picture I took of your car and your license plate. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you all the other radars on this highway. We went on a highway to Busra. We saw some Roman ruins. Colosseum. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I also recommend it as well. And we went to Sueda, which is really interesting, and we ate dinner or lunch in a place on top of a huge hill, which is where the president once ate lunch or dinner. It was really good food, and a lot of the people there, they're Druze, which is it's something you should look into to see what it means. And then Suq al-Hamidiyya, which is a great souk. It's a marketplace, and I recommend going there and visiting it. Okay, well that's all I have for then. I really miss it, but the problem is, and I haven't written this down anywhere, or I forgot to write it down, but basically I was stopped at the airport for over an hour of interrogation because the guy couldn't understand that I'm an American citizen, yet of Syrian origin. My great-great-grandmother and my great-grandfather came to America, her and her 2 sons and his brother, and they were in Cleveland, Ohio. Then they went back. My grandfather came, he's an American citizen as well, he went back, and my dad ended up staying. So I have American citizens in my family all the way there. I just found it out. I have old letters, and I'll be going to Cleveland to do some research on that. So look forward to that in the future. I have to go. End of 10 minutes.